Our second panel of the day is Trends in Fan Engagement. I'm happy to introduce the panel lead, who's Peter Stern, who's a good friend and obviously a friend of the program, as he's one of our advisory board members, and an incredibly supportive one of that. Peter also had a lot to do with the preparation and the planning for this conference. So, Peter, thank you for all the effort you put into this. Peter's the principal of Strategic Agency. It's a firm he launched in 1996 with an entrepreneurial vision to marry his own industry experience, consulting corporations and properties with sports. Peter has guided what became as a modest startup agency and one of the most highly respected firms in the industry, expanding upon a strong foothold and proprietary niche in the sports and now entertainment business fields. And he also he deals with entertainment properties and lifestyle sponsorships as well. Prior to Strategic, Peter held roles at One Stop Events and Katz Media Corporation. He's regrettably an alumnus of Ohio State University. I can say that as a Domer. He's also a past recipient of the Sports Business Journal 40 Under 40 Award, and his agency is a past recipient of the prestigious Bill Veeck Sponsorship Award. Peter's a really talented guy, and he does great work at Strategic, and we're very lucky to have him as a part of our advisory board here at St. Joseph's. The panel he's going to lead, which he'll introduce you to, has some terrific guests. They're going to focus on trends, challenges, and best practices in fan engagement, especially when it comes to navigating the live or real-time world of sports across the industry. So please give a warm welcome to Peter and our second panel.
That's great. Thank you, Foss. I'm pinch hitting today for Terry Lefton, who has some health issues, but I spoke to him this morning, and he assured me and wanted everyone to know that he's doing great. I thought about starting the panel off by possibly imparting some wisdom, but I thought Randy did a great job in the previous panel, and we can just jump in, and I think it is appropriate that I'm following, augmented reality, social media, big data, because as I always tell people that interview at our agency, all of these new innovations are really the great equalizer. And as I look out at you folks, which is the next generation of sports marketers, I think that space really provides a big opportunity. So we've got a powerhouse panel here today, and we're going to jump right in with some introductions. So to my left is Eric Lipsman, Senior Vice President, Trenton Thunder. Next to Eric is Sean McKinney, President of the McKinney Group. We also share a mutual client in Starter. To the left of Sean is Michael Thompson, Senior Vice President, Sports Entertainment, Aramark. And next to Michael is Patrick Sullivan, Vice President, Events, National Basketball Association. Round of applause for our panelists, please. So I thought it would be appropriate, since we just came out of the sessions that we had, to start with really technology. And maybe, Eric, you could jump in and talk about really how technology has changed sort of the live game experience with the Thunder and some of the things that you guys are doing.
Well, this year we basically added the second largest video board in minor league baseball in the United States, and we're pretty proud of it. It's huge, and that has just basically opened up a lot of new eras for us. As far as the fans are just flipping out the minute they see it. They just walk in, and we have basically turned it into a great way of generating income through sponsorships, fan intervention as far as fans using a lot of cameras. We have basically changed our whole game, and that is one thing. And we also tie that into social media now. We have a promotion called Tweet Your Seat, where fans in the stadium can tweet where they're located, and we will actually upgrade them. We will pick one every night. They also will win a prize. So we are doing a lot of things. We went digital on our highway marquee instead of it just being a static sign. We now HD with graphics up there. Sponsors have jumped on that because there are 29,000 cars a day drive by that. So we are that, on a smaller scale for a minor league, we've pretty much jumped up to what we think is a fairly large presence with that.
Great. And one of the things you guys will quickly recognize on our panel is we really cut across the sports industry, so it's a little bit harder to weave a common thread. But Sean, you've been a pioneer in licensed apparel, Michelin Ness, Starter, and other endeavors. If you think about technology in this new age of user-generated content, customization. How has that impacted the apparel industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with customization. I think it's probably the biggest thing. I mean, today, all of you guys, we're all consumers, and I think everybody wants to have something that's unique out there. You know, you don't want to walk down the street necessarily wearing the same thing that 5 other people are wearing, and so customization, whether it's in stadium or at retail, you know, there's all kinds of retailers that offer customization, whether it's T-shirts or embroidery on headwear. You know, that I think that's, you know, it's an on-demand and it's a one-off type concept that I think really is driven from another part of technology, and that's analytics. I mean, I think when you look at, especially at live events in stadiums, you know, not only are you measuring how well you're doing today versus yesterday versus last week, but you can look at the same point in time last year. What did you sell? How many did you sell? What sizing? What sizes? What colors? So technology, I think, both helps to start the process and also finish the process.
Great. And Michael, your industry, you know, maybe more than anyone else potential on the panel, can adapt and use technology in the arenas today. We just learned about big data, and maybe just to boil it down into you know, practical ways that it could work with concessions and food and beverage. Is there ways that Aramark today is using technology and behavioral analytics to serve up the customer?
You know, it's unique how much how we've sort of evolved in the last 5 or 6 years. We have a whole department that is nothing more than insights and analytics to help us understand. We, as an industry, probably touch the fan, the guest, whatever you want to call him, more than anyone else. So we have this connection that is instantaneous, and we have to bring that around to see what we can do with it. What we've done over the years now is taking those insights to be able to understand what his buying patterns are, what he likes, where he travels. I mean, how far will he travel to his seat? What does he like to wear? How often does he buy? And what segment of time does he buy? All that is brought back in where we now tailor from that. We start tailoring our menu boards to be more effective in trying to target that audience. And then it goes a step further. We're into now some beautiful face recognition technology to try to see if we can understand the consumer in line. So now I can sit there and say, I've got 7 people in line, 3 are female, 4 are male. I have an understanding of that age group, and I can begin to start target menu items around what he's trying to do, what we're trying to sell him, what he's been accustomed to. And the final side of that is we're taking now in the retail. You can go into one of our retail stores, which are trying now. You can actually try on merchandise through a screen. So you will sit there and you can pick out the color, you can pick out your hat, you can pick out your whole outfit, bing, bing, bing. You can see how it looks on you. So all this stuff is evolving so that we're connecting the customer more and more, importantly, to the actual product and the entertainment value on the field.
Great. And Patrick, the NBA has long been a leader in innovation technology. You've got great experience having been involved in kind of the tentpole marquee events. Can you talk a little bit about events like All-Star Game and, you know, NBA playoffs finals that we're in right now? We know you're in your peak season, and you joined us on how you've used technology.
I manage all of our international and domestic grassroots events. So that's kind of loosely defined as anything that the fans are participating in. So whether that's a competitive tournament, a development program, a fan festival, anything where the fan is actually participating in. So we've used technology to, excuse me, especially internationally, to really extend our event. You know, if we're doing an event in Burkina Faso and, you know, we're only there for a weekend and we bring, you know, some of the highlight things that we know our fans want to see, whether that's entertainment or it can be a viewing party for the finals or playoffs, whatever the situation is. We use kind of technology to extend that weekend. So, you know, whether that's obviously before the event, during, and after the event. So, that's probably my biggest focus on technology, is trying to, you know, leverage these live events that we do that are more fan-based and trying to extend that footprint throughout the year, whether it's sweepstakes programs or register, you know, anything that's trying to extend the
Great. And earlier, someone put up the big screen TV and the nice cushy chairs. I was a little bit jealous, but maybe just staying with you, Patrick. I mean, we've heard theories in the leagues about potentially losing a next generation of fans because of how great that home viewing experience has become. You know, prices with certain sports could be pricing out families. How important is that in the NBA? Is that a big issue as you think about the live experience?
So we definitely we have hundreds of people who focus on that for sure. You know, one of the things Commissioner Stern has always talked about is, as great as technology is, and we think we're leading the industry in that. There's nothing against, nothing better than getting a ball in your hand. So how do we get more actual basketballs in people's hands? And that's part of the things I focus on in growing the sport. And again, all the technology overlays all of that, but there's nothing better than actually getting off the bench, so to speak, and getting into the game. Whether it's shooting contest or watching your child in a shooting contest or a competition, a 3-on-3, a dunk contest, a clinic, whatever the case might be.
Yeah. And Sean, maybe through your licensing background, that issue directly tying to fan affinity, do you see that impacting potentially sales, or is everything that happens at home now with social media just make the marketplace bigger and bigger and just different ways to connect with fans?
I don't see it necessarily hurting. I mean, I do think that where people shop, how they purchase product has been changing. I mean, clearly there's been a push online for several years now, and I think if you look at NBAstore.com or any of the league's websites, I think that you see the amount of focus and attention and amount of social media driving customers there. So, I don't know how the numbers shake out, in terms of at the event versus online, but clearly there's been a strong demand online, and it's something that's, you can offer such a wider array of product as well online than you can in store from an inventory perspective. So, I think overall, cumulatively, I think the demand is significant. I just think maybe the shopping patterns have changed a little bit.
Gotcha. And so we're in a great live event market here, and as you've seen from just the list of the panelists and the teams that are representing, there's a lot of competition, Eric, for sort of share of wallet. How do you, as the Thunder, differentiate kind of the game day experience?
Well, one of the great things we have going for us is we are the New York Yankees minor league team, and we carry the Yankee brand. So that brand actually carries a lot of weight, and one of the great things we can do is we can use that to our advantage. We are lucky enough to have had many Yankee stars play for us on injury rehabs, everyone from Derek Jeter to Andy Pettitte. So that expands our market. We get people, when something like that happens, the diehard Yankees fans will come from as far away as New York and pack our stadium to beyond standing room only. So that is something that helps. But basically, as far as comparing us to a major league team, it's a totally different animal. Our fans basically are coming for an experience, to enjoy the game, to enjoy a day out. It's affordable family entertainment is how we bill ourselves. Where the highest price ticket is $12. It costs you $3 to park. And one of our owners used to say that if a fan leaves the game and didn't know who won the game, then we did our job, because they were entertained. We have something going on between every inning. We have things going on the field. We have 71 home games. Out of the 71 home games, we will have 15 to 16 fireworks nights. The rest of them will have giveaways. We now are doing a lot of interaction with our sponsors, who are doing exit samplings. They're doing tables on the concourse. They want to have that one-on-one introduction to our fans. So we're doing something that, so if somebody leaves the stadium and said, boy, we had a great time, but didn't care who won the game, then we've done our job well as offering them a secure place and a clean place, which is one of the things that we found that women are very concerned about as far as when they bring their family to a game.
Great. And over to you, Michael. When I used to go to Browns games growing up, we'd get a game program on the way in and a cold hot dog. And as we saw the Barclays Center presentation earlier, the food amenities are incredible. The stadiums have become these entertainment destinations. How does Aramark play a role in that? And talk about what that means to a consumer coming to a game.
I think when you really begin to start looking at it, we're custodians of the brand, basically. It's not Aramark, it's really the Browns, or it's the Phillies, or Eagles, whatever. But when you begin to take a look at it, you try to sit there and create an environment that you are allowing your consumer, the customer, the guest, as I said before, to really engage himself in the overall product. So when you start seeing yourself, how do you touch the basketball? Well, from our perspective, we create destination zones for them to go to that are different and very vivid and lively. They provide not only insights into other games and things like that, but it's a destination for your generation to go to. My generation, I'm the youngest one of this panel, obviously, but my generation, of course, was the one that would go through 4 quarters or through 3 periods or through 2 halves. It's not that way anymore. You, as a generation, are on multiple different vices. You want to go different places. You want to be at different things, and you want to experience something totally different. So from our standpoint, we want to allow you to touch the ball, but I will tell you there is nothing, and we look at the competitors and we sit there, or the competition, we say, that big home TV screen with the cushy chairs, there is nothing, and I dare you to tell me there is nothing better than going to a live entertainment venue. I don't care what you're watching, whether it's sports, whether it's a concert, whatever, there is nothing like that excitement. And if we can enhance that excitement, if we can be part of that excitement and deliver that to you have no idea. That is the ultimate. If you go out and smell the grass and smell some popcorn, or conversely, just watch the lights and the players and some of the things that are going on out there, it is the most spectacular evening that you'll ever have.
Great. Well, Patrick, I'm sure you'd agree that, NBA game day is fantastic, and you guys do a great job as a league in terms of collaborating, sharing best practices. There are some great examples around the league, having gone to games in Dallas and a few other venues of how they program their game day. What do you guys do in some of the more marquee game experiences that you could share, sort of a best practice for the live game experience?
For All-Star Weekend is definitely our headliner event of the year. That's where we bring all of our business guests. That's our marquee event of the year. All-Star Weekend, which started, just a game on Sunday. Now we come into town 2 weeks before, and the events really start on the Monday prior to, and it's CARES events to celebrity games to practices to Rising Stars on Saturday night. I mean, it's extended so much beyond that, including the fan festival event, which is called NBA Jam Session. So, Jam Session is a good example of something that we created for the fans. The fans, if an all-star host city, the odds are that most of the fans in that town are probably not going to get a ticket to the game. That's just the reality of playing in 18,000-seat arenas. So we created Jam Session, which is a 5-day fan event typically held in the convention center, for the fans to get to participate in All-Star Weekend. So they may not be able to get to the arena to experience all the thrills and excitement, but we're trying to replicate that at Jam Session for a very family-friendly, lower-price ticket. All the All-Stars come, celebrity games, all that stuff happens within Jam Session to try to give our fans who, again, in reality, if they can't get a ticket to the All-Star game, they still have one place to try to experience the All-Star Weekend.
Okay. And just maybe a quick hit for the whole panel. No one's got a crystal ball, but maybe some trends or what you think we might see in the future in terms of the live game experience. And maybe, Eric, I'll start with you.
We are doing a lot of things with entertainment companies. We have partnered with 20th Century Fox, both last year and this year. One of the unique things we did last year was something they had never done, was they wanted to market a family movie, Diary of a Wimpy Kid Dog Days, and they decided to try doing a promotion at a stadium. They brought out the author, Jeff Kinney, who has over 70 million friends on Facebook. He's sold a ton of books with this whole Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. The stars of the movie, they brought him out. We had an autograph session at the stadium during a game. We had 1,100 young kids in line with their Wimpy Kid books for the autographs. After the game was over, we invited all the kids in the stadium onto the field and they did a read-along with the author and the stars of the movie, and 20th Century Fox was blown away. They said they never realized that doing something like this at a sports venue could work. This year, they came back to us, said it's the 20th anniversary of the movie The Sandlot. They brought out the director, the writer, and one of the stars of The Sandlot. They did the same type of thing. They did an autograph signing. They did a trivia question, and then after the game was over, we showed the entire movie on our giant new HD video board, and it was a huge hit, and now they're taking that across the country to both Major League and minor league parks.
Great. And Sean, you can take it outside of the arena, just maybe a prediction for apparel, the licensing industry, a trend?
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things has been to watch how some brands that are from the more traditional sports, you know, we did this both at Mitchell and Ness and now with Starter. You know, you look at those two brands as more traditional sports heritage brands, but we've really moved into collaborations in other channels of the sports business. You know, we're working right now for Starter. We're working with everybody from Vans to Stussy to the Mountain Dew skate team. So when it comes to the live event side, you know, you'll start to see Starter co-branded product that might show up in surf skate, in action sports, in music. You know, obviously there's a connection between music and sports. There always has been. And so whether it's, you know, Jay-Z and what he wears a lot of Mitchell and Ness, and you see how those guys can influence a brand, how they can influence trends. To this day, you know, those guys still have so much power and influence over what's worn and what becomes popular. The snapback hat that we really had a great run on at Mitchell & Ness over the last 3 years really blew up when Kanye wore it to a fashion show in New York City about 3 years ago. And so now you take that and the power and the influence that those guys have, you combine it with instantaneously through social media, not just people in New York and LA and Chicago, but in Paris and London and Milan, all over the world. At the same time, people are finding out, you know, what these guys are wearing and how that influences trends. So it's one of the reasons that even though it's a more traditional sports brand, you have to kind of play in those other arenas because, quite honestly, that's where, you know, there's really a gray area today. There's not so much anymore of you know, urban and suburban and just the you know, core sports and surf skate. There's a really kind of gray area and a hybrid and a melting pot of who that consumer is today. And so we're really focused on not just the traditional sports, but also action sports and X Games and everything like that.
Yeah, and so, you know, you've scratched on a big area, you know, the rise of celebrity appeal, you know, star power and how it influences consumers. What is it about the culture today? You know, there's some theories that social media has played a big role. You know, in the past, it's been that celebrities, you know, were unobtainable and just aspirational, but now they're approachable because of social channels and two-way dialogue. Any theory on the rise of celebrities and the influence?
I mean, my personal opinion, I mean, it's always been there. I think
Yeah.
it's always just been a question of who, you know, who really is the leader. You know, when I was growing up, obviously it was Michael Jordan, for me anyway, and obviously to this day, he has such an influence that he still generates, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars for Nike through brand Jordan. But I think today, you know, you look at the numbers of how, you know, participation numbers in some of the more traditional sports, how they've changed over the years, and you see where kids' interests through technology, through social media, how those interests are now much more varied. So I think because of that, you know, it's not just the one guy you see on a commercial anymore. I think you're right. Kids have access. We all have access to people and the celebrities more so than they ever have before.
Cool. And Michael, back to the original question, in the live event space, what would your prediction be from sort of the Aramark perspective?
You know, it's always interesting because you try to see where it's going to evolve to, but today we have been very fortunate to see a real change in what I consider our new buying patterns and what our insights and analytics have been told us, especially about celebrities. We have now really gone down to a geographic base wherever we're doing our business. our business model, whether it's in Kansas City or LA or here in Philadelphia, you begin to access, celebrity chefs, food programs, food brands that are currently here in the neighborhood that brings, what it does is bring a sort of a community back together. You feel more comfortable with that brand. You're able to expand that a little bit. In Cleveland, for instance, we've just highlighted a brand new with Michael Simon. We've developed some brand new areas that he has developed himself, so that we're working with him on. So you see this whole evolving into the food and beverage program that now starts where it became very simple, and it still will remain fairly simple. But now it's expanding to the point of where there's really a geographic preference, a taste profile that you are demanding. And we are trying to be that for you. We're trying to connect that, the community and bring that into the stadiums, the arenas, whatever, so that we can have a better overall product.
Do fans today demand too much? I mean, is there a line?
Oh, there definitely is a line. We're to a point where, there's a great question that says, you've got to be in this health conscious state, because if you don't, you're crazy. Well, we haven't, and we do a lot of work with Celiac Foundation and make sure that we've got gluten-free products, et cetera. At the end of the day, and as much as we hear the screaming, we're less than 2% of our sales is coming out of what we consider healthy related or specialty kind of items. So there is too much. There's a lot of chatter out there, and if you're not careful, you start taking away from what you think. How many times are you going to go up to a concession stand and buy an apple and a pear and take it back to your seat? Well, it doesn't seem to work, but do we have to have it? We do have to have it. It's where it's located. How often do you fortify it, or do you really advertise it? But the speaking is, we got to be very careful, because if you try to sit there and savor and connect every single customer with his wish, you are going into a very, very deep hole. You're not able to be in a position to actually execute on that.
Patrick, any prediction on what an NBA All-Star game may look like in 5 years? Or?
I think one of the trends we've seen is just kind of the increased appetite. So certainly internationally on the grassroots side, they just want more and more and more. And we pretty regularly do events now in about 40 countries a year, and even just a few years ago that number was only in the 20s or so, and it's kind of 40 plus now. And on the more of the marquee side, we've done preseason or regular season games, I think about 120 or so, in the history of the NBA overseas. And 10 years ago, it was enough to just have the team go, and the fans were just excited to just be able to see, Michael Jordan take a shot at, in Paris against the local team, or whatever the case might have been. And now it's expanded more to just the appetite's much greater, so we've had to create more fan events, whether it's simple things like fan appreciation days or fan zones or celebrity games, concerts, all these things kind of that are now turning even our international preseason schedules into more of that same all-star schedule of, if it's no longer just a game and in and out, it's 5-6 days in the Philippines or Taiwan, whatever the case might be.
Great. And just a couple more questions, and then we want to open it up to you guys. Since our conference is titled They're Number One, Eric, do you want to talk a little bit about loyalty and retention and some of the things that you guys do to hold on to your near and dear customer base?
Basically, we try everything possible to keep our season ticket holders and our groups happy. We offer programs where they can take batting practice. They can come out. We let our season ticket holders get certain dates when they can get an early admission into the stadium at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They can go down the field, watch batting practice, get autographs from the players. We are constantly constantly taking surveys, constantly interacting with our fans on Facebook. We just want to know what are they looking for. Like Michael mentioned, we instituted a brand new concession stand this year. Actually, there's 3 of them in the region. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield New Jersey instituted this program. They wanted to do healthy programs in the state of New Jersey at stadiums. And it seems that New Jersey has a very high obesity rate with children. So we instituted it's called Healthy Plate, and it has veggie burgers, veggie dogs, gluten-free products, and getting people into knowing about this, and we've had samplings, and the fans have been very receptive to it. So we're trying to do everything to give them something new and something exciting to go along. But we offer season ticket holders trips to Yankee spring training, trips up to Yankee Stadium. We're doing everything to keep them loyal.
Great. Okay, so this is your conference. We're going to open it up for a few questions. Anyone in the audience here? Yep, just coming down one with the microphone here. Okay, yep, right here. Thanks.
You always, at live events, fans always come out for the game, but more and more it's becoming a type of event. Like, I'm there because I want to be with a bunch of people, or this is a cool place to be. We talked about that earlier with going for the Phillies, Citizens Bank Park, or from the vet to Citizens Bank Park. What do you think that added value is going to be in like 5 years? What's the next step for that? Because fans are always looking now. Before it was, I'm going to the game just to go to the game. Now there's that added value. Where do you think that's going to be in 5 to 10 years?
I can take a crack at that one and then open it up. I think part of what we've seen is the power of social media and all the bonding and other elements that go with that. And I think you've seen a trend with stadiums probably in the last decade where you've seen these more open areas to congregate. And I think that social aspect of game day will continue. So you've seen some baseball teams experiment where they've taken out suites and they've turned them into sort of, man caves, fan caves for social interaction. And I think that's going to be incorporated more and more in terms of kind of feeding that interest of the fan that really stems out of sort of social media and wanting to engage closer with their network of friends.
We're beginning to very, very similar to where you see it going, but where you've got today, we're working with some people from, as you well know, the blackboard, your famous blackboard in colleges. Well, the whole thought is, how do you take, number one, this ticket that you have, whether it's a suite or a group of seats, how do you open that up to your Outlook and now invite people? So it's the same concept you're doing today, but now I'm going to invite you to join me at this game, at this date. We can now tie in what would you like to have, and the first 20 people or first 30 people that show up and sign up, they're the tickets, and here's the price. So now I've got a whole other avenue going. I've got only my friends. They're paying for their ticket. We've decided the menu. We're going to congregate at this area first before we go to our seats. So it becomes this whole kind of a snowballing kind of effect. And if we continue to understand where the social media is going, I mean, it's going to be the next, then what do you tweet after that? What do you communicate inside stadium? What do you do with where you're all at now? So it's a whole new messaging that we're all excited about, because we think we can now develop all food, beverage, retail programs around that. It isn't that difficult when you get that big data, for instance, and move with it. So it's very readily available, and we're all excited about it. So I think that's where you're going to be going.
And just to piggyback Michael's comment, we experimented with an idea for Budweiser in Canada where people could play along with the game. And I think that idea of being in the live event experience and having a game within a game where you're competing or you're predicting the outcome will start to happen inside of stadiums. Yep.
Piggyback on that, my question, and I'm hearing Art talk about the fan that goes to the game and doesn't remember or know who won the game. Is there a fear or thought of desensitizing the fan to what the actual game is on the field? I mean, by interacting with them to get them involved with the game on the field is the right step, but to get someone to go to the game and all the things that go on around take away from the game itself, that's got to be, I would think, some bit of a threat to what it is that drives the event.
Well, on the minor league level, it's not like we have the big name stars that are going to attract the fans. We do have I'd say 15 to 20% of our fans who come every game are diehard loyal baseball fans. They know that, 5 of the top 10 Yankee prospects are playing for us. They know that 12 of our players from the 2012 Thunder are now up in New York, so they're the diehards. But then you have the families, the groups that are coming out, and they're just looking for a place to be entertained. We will do things for Father's Day. We're partnered with Macy's. We're having the dads come out before the game. They're going to go out in the outfield and have a catch with their kids. And this is something that the kid, that they'll take pictures of. It's a memory that will last a lifetime. And one of the other things we're doing with Macy's is we're going to have a Macy's manager for the day. And one lucky fan is going to be able to go out with our manager to the umpires and hand them the lineup card. So we're doing everything to get as much interaction and basically, create great memories, and as well as hopefully have them follow the players as they make their way up to New York.
That's a great question. I don't think there's a cookie cutter model either. All markets are going to be different. So if you think about a Flyers fan who's sophisticated, hardcore, into the game, but then you go look at hockey in the Southeast or on the West Coast, it's like a cocktail party. So I think it's a market by market scenario in terms of how you program, and then the impact of where that line is about going too far away from the purity of the game.
I think from our standpoint at the NBA, all of the research that we've done, our fans love all the ancillary stuff and the entertainment, but it still comes back to the sport and the game, and that's kind of that's where that's our product. You're right. Yeah, you're right. It's a fine line. You certainly have to.
I'm actually
well.
curious Sean's opinion on this, because a big part about the apparel is all about authenticity. And so if there's all these other ways that fans now follow the sport, does that change the dynamic at all in terms of your world, or is it still about the Jordan aspiration?
Yeah, I mean, I think any way that you can get fans interested and engaged in the sport's a good thing. I mean, that's better than the alternative where they don't care or they don't show up. I think even if you look at today, the mixture of fans that go to a game, in every stadium there's probably some amount that aren't really that interested in the product on the field. They're there to go have fun and hang out with people and be part of a group. But you still have that large percentage of people that are the hardcore fans. I think they'll always be there as long as the product's on the field. I think that's the most important thing. And I think if you look at the talent of so many young kids today, it's just crazy to think how good these athletes will keep becoming, in future years. I watched a video the other day of a 6'7" seventh grader. That's now arguably going to be one of the most highly recruited kids, over the next few years. And you see that, and I think the product on the field or the court or the ice should continue to be really, really strong. And I think that's the most important thing, to make sure that you have the strong core following of fans.
Great. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Please join me in thanking our panel.